Welcome everyone to Saturday Night Cenobites. My name is Sreth Nay, and I'm the host this evening. What I do every week with Saturday Night Cenobites is raise funds for my favorite theaters, which are Sunray Cinema out in Jacksonville and the Corridon Cinema and Cafe in St. Augustine. And my guest tonight, he is the president of the St. Augustine Film Society, and his name is Joe Marx. Hey Joe, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. How did you get involved with the St. Augustine Film Society?
Well, that's a long story, and it goes back to my college years. And you've got to bear with me here for a few minutes. So I needed an elective in college many decades ago, and looking through the catalog, I needed something that would fit with my schedule. I don't really enjoy early morning classes, so there was always that. And I came upon this elective called film history. So I said, well, how hard can this be? They put you in a lecture hall, they show you a movie, they turn the lights off, and then they ask you to write a paper afterwards. So I took that as an elective, and I did really well, and it always enjoyed it. But then my working career, I was a math and science guy. I'm a chem engineer and worked for a living, retired to Florida in 2003 and needed some physical activity. So I started playing volleyball on the beach, and I began playing volleyball with an instructor at Flagler College who taught film history, Italian cinema, a bunch of different subjects. And as we became more friendly, I said, can I sit in on some of your classes? And she was agreeable. So I took 3 semesters of film studies at Flagler College, just sitting in her class. I said, you know what? What this town needs is a film society. And there had been one prior to 2003. There was a gentleman in St. Augustine, Jim Chastain, who ran 2 organizations. He ran a film society that showed films of note on a regular basis. I think it was a monthly basis. And he also had a group of frustrated actors that met and put on plays for their own amusement. And it's called the Margin Players. So I joined the Margin Players as soon as I moved down here because I was looking for things for me and my wife to do. And after a couple of years, Jim told me he was relocating to Sarasota. He asked me to take over both the Film Society and the Margin Players, and I really couldn't do both of them. I had a lot of other things going on, so I took over the Margin Players. And after that had been running for a while, for I think about 5 years, it was going pretty smoothly. It wasn't requiring much of my time. So I said, you know what? Let me restart the Film Society. So I put together a team of board members, including this instructor at Flagler College, and we formed the Film Society as a nonprofit 501c3 in the state of Florida, and began showing films for the entertainment of our audiences. And then we'd have a discussion afterwards and an analysis of the film, so on and so forth. So that's the story.
Fantastic. And speaking of all the stuff that happens after the films, you have events that take place that are educational, and they touch base on the social issues.
Correct. So after about 2 years of running the Film Society, that was running fairly smoothly, and I said, we really should be able to do more with this medium than just for entertainment value or artistic value. So I wrote a grant proposal to Community Foundation of Northeast Florida, and they gave me grant money to put together the Golden Way Films That Make a Difference. And that's an organization that partners frequently with Compassionate St. Augustine in town. And what we do is we put together events on various different social topics, civil rights, race relations, religious tolerance, LGBTQ issues. We've done events on a whole host of different issues, including using music in elder care settings, in nursing homes, just a wide variety of stuff. And lately, we've been doing a lot of environmental films.
Oh, that's awesome of you for doing such a thing for the community like that. And you also included documentaries and had like a guest speakers and panelists for
Correct. So what we do is, whatever the particular topic is, we'll show the film that helps educate the audience and illuminate the issue, and then we put together either a guest speaker or a group of panelists to discuss the various aspects of the film, take questions from our audiences, and so on and so forth. And I've had various different sponsors help fund this. Community Foundation of Northeast Florida has helped us a couple of times. The Florida Humanities Council, Compassionate St. Augustine, Friends of the St. Augustine Amphitheater. There have been numerous organizations that have given us grants or large gifts and donations to help us do what we do. And we always are grateful for any donations we get from our audience as well, because all of our events are free and open to the public.
Indeed, that's pretty rad. And you also you worked with like a bunch of venues in town and in Jacksonville, like the Corazon, the Flagler College.
We've done events at the Corazon. We've used Flagler College venues, Lewis Auditorium, Gamache Kroger, numerous times. We frequently use area churches. I've used dance studios. I've used schools up in Jacksonville, the Museum of Science and History we used one time. It's a traveling road show, and we currently have a grant that was supposed to run in 2020, the spring and summer and fall of 2020 at the amphitheater, but that's been put on hiatus since the amphitheater is essentially closed until 2021. So look for Echo Cinema at the amphitheater starting probably in March of 2021, when hopefully life will be back to some semblance of normalcy.
Indeed, that was like what my next question was going to be. What your future plans are, and I'm so glad that you shared where you're going to have the amphitheater.
Yeah, we're pretty much out of business until next year. We had been working on an event on asylum policy in the United States. We've been working feverishly on the Echo Cinema project with an organization called Beaches Go Green up in Jacksonville that does a film series up there, and wanted to bring their events to a St. Augustine audience. So everything is pretty much on hold, though, until 2021. The Film Society, for the last 3 or 4 years, has been doing one event at the film festival in January, and they have asked us again this year to help out with one event the Thursday before the film festival weekend, which is always the third weekend in January, to do a film presentation. We don't have the film or even the event yet, but we will be doing that again. So that'll probably be our first event in January of 2021.
Indeed. And since you're part of the St. Augustine Film Society, you've worked on some films in the past. Which films and projects have you worked on?
So when we first got started, the instructor at Flagler College, that is essentially my technical advisor and my artistic director, because she's the one that really knows film. She's got a PhD in film studies. she had a personal story that she wanted to tell, and just very, very briefly, without belaboring it, she was a young woman in her early 30s, was married to a professional athlete who was participating in a competition. He was a volleyball player, and he wasn't feeling well, sat down for a few minutes to catch his breath, collapsed. He had a brain aneurysm that ruptured, and he was in a vegetative state for about 6 months before he finally passed away. And during that time, she found out that she could not make health decisions for him, even though she was married to him, because they didn't have any healthcare proxies, no power of attorney or anything. And at some point, 6 months into this tragedy, she was ready to disconnect the life support mechanisms, because he was essentially brain dead from day one. And she wanted to turn the machines off, excuse me, but his parents did not, and that became a legal battle. So after all this was finished with, and she got through this, she says, I really want to tell my story so that even young married people who are in their 20s, 30s really start thinking about having healthcare directives and power of attorney in place so they don't wind up in the same position I did. So we made this film called Everything's Gonna Be All Right, and you can find it on Vimeo. And we partnered with Hospice of Northeast Florida on that one. We interviewed a representative from Hospice. We had an attorney that we interviewed, and the whole thing ran about 3 minutes. And it was used by Hospice early on in their training sessions, and then Flagler Hospital used it briefly for training their employees. And then they subsequently did a video of their own that has taken its place. But that was being used for training mostly. And if anybody is interested in your viewing audience, I'm happy to send you the link.
Indeed.
You could probably find it on our Facebook page, although you may have to search back 5 or 6 years of postings to find it.
Indeed. And you partnered, speaking of Echo, going back to it, you partnered with the AMPS Green Hands Initiative and Beaches Go Green, along with Echo Cinema. How did the collaboration come to fruition?
Well, it hasn't come to fruition yet because we haven't shown the films yet. However, that's an interesting story also. All right, there's an attorney in town that plays volleyball, and his wife belongs to and has been helping with Beaches Go Green up in Jacksonville. And she attended a green drinks meeting, which is a loose collaboration of various different environmental groups in town that was meeting on a regular basis at Ganung's Fish Camp and a few other venues, just for all of us that are working on the same problem from different points of view, different aspects, to get together and discuss what's happening locally and how we can help each other, promote each other's events, and just as a way of getting together in a social gathering and discuss the environmental issues that are important to everybody in St. Augustine, not the least of which is sea level rise. Hopefully the hurricane won't be so bad. Now it's a tropical storm. Maybe it'll be a hurricane. Who knows? But I've had friends that have been flooded out here. So sea level rise is an issue, certainly in our area. Single-use plastic has been a big problem. We've done events on that twice already on single-use plastic. We've done events on the life cycle of turtles. We've done, it's a long, long list of stuff.
Indeed, and we have a couple viewers in on their channel at the moment, so feel free to hop in with some questions for Joe if you have any. And the part of the film series, there's a four-part environmental film series taking place at the front porch of the AMP. The first one's Plastic Paradise. What made you pick Plastic Paradise to kick off the event?
So could you repeat that?
Oh yeah,
What made me pick what is it?
Plastic Paradise as the first film of the four-part environmental film series.
Uh, I have a group of about 12 individuals that sit on an advisory board for the Golden Way. And we look at lots and lots and lots of films, sometimes together, sometimes individually. And it's a process. We have evaluation sheets that have various different components, including production values, artistic bits and pieces, as well as educational content, accuracy, and so on and so forth. So we probably looked at least a half a dozen films that were on the subject of single-use plastic and the problems that it produces in the environment. We're somewhat constricted by the length of films. We like to have films that have running times of around 40 to 50 minutes. If they start running an hour and a half to an hour and 3/4, 2 hours, it doesn't really leave a lot of time for discussion afterwards, because the events usually have to be finished within 2 hours, because otherwise we start losing audience interest and all kinds of other issues. And venue time also is an expense. But so we go through a half a dozen films on single-use plastic, and we come up with the top two, let's say, and then it becomes a question of which distributor will work with us within our budget to give us the license approval to show the film. So that has a bearing on it also.
Indeed, and it's the first of four installments. Will there other? What are the other three films that will be shown?
We're going to be showing Sinking Cities, which was a PBS special. And the one we're going to show is on Miami, since it has local interest. PBS picked four different cities worldwide: Tokyo, New York, Miami, and I don't remember the fourth one anymore. But in any case, Miami is the one we're going to show. The other two films, Blue is one of them, about the oceans and the health of the oceans and coral destruction and so on and so forth. And then we're showing a film, I think the name of it is Wasted, on food waste in the United States and various agricultural issues and how to produce more food without degrading the environment and so on and so forth.
Indeed, and let's see here. Are there any final plugs that you'd like to share with the audience? Any shout outs?
No, just look at our Facebook page. If you're interested in becoming a member and you're not a member and you're listening to this show, please drop me an email. We currently have about 800 members in St. Augustine. Well, St. Augustine and its environs, and there's a few people that live out of town also that follow us. But happy to have you, and look for our events in 2021.
Indeed.
And everybody stay safe.
Most definitely, especially with the tropical storm coming in and with the coronavirus going on. But it's been a huge honor for me to interview you, Joe, and thank you for taking time out to do the interview. And as I mentioned earlier, follow them on St. Augustine Film Society on Facebook, like them on there. Check out the PSA on Vimeo, and also please support the St. Augustine's Cordon Cinnamon Cafe. and the Sunray Cinema in Jacksonville. Their links are below the video, so that's how you can get your virtual screenings and visit their pop-ups that they have as their drive-ins. So definitely support those during these times as well as the St. Augustine Film Society. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining me for and taking time out of your day for shining some light on the St. Augustine Film Society.
Okay, and thank you, Sarah. Really
You're
appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome, absolutely. And have a great night and be safe out there.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.